You're not just thinking, you're rehearsing. It's midnight, the room is dark, and suddenly, you're in a conversation that hasn't happened yet. You're explaining yourself. You're defending your point of view. You are setting a boundary with absolute perfection. In your head, you are articulate. You are calm. You are powerful. But in real life, you froze and now your brain won't let it go. Let's be honest. You've replayed that one sentence they said. The tone, the micro-expression on their face, the pause that lasted too long. You have built entire alternate timelines around it. And here's the part no one talks about. Sometimes the conversation you're rehearsing isn't even realistic. It's dramatic. It's catastrophic. Imagine being misunderstood, abandoned, exposed, rejected, and then you imagine finally saying everything you have swallowed for years. The truth. This isn't just overthinking. This isn't you being too sensitive. This is your nervous system trying to protect you from social pain. And specifically, social pain neurologically activates the same regions as physical pain. Your brain does not distinguish very well between an actual confrontation and a vividly imagined one. Your amygdala, your internal threat detector, lights up. Cortisol rises. Your body tightens, your jaw clenches, your stomach contracts. Your heart subtly accelerates. Pause right now. Notice your body. Is there tension in your shoulders? It's not drama, that's memory, because the behavior looks like imagination. But it is actually emotional memory trying to prevent future injury. The behavior feels like fantasy, but it is rehearsal for survival. And here's the twist. The more conversations you rehearse, the more it reveals about your attachment, history, your trauma patterns, and your relationship with conflict. You're not crazy, you're patterned. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what pattern you're running and why it makes psychological sense. If this already feels uncomfortably accurate, subscribe. We go deep here, no anesthesia. Now let's look at the mechanics. Your brain does not care that it's just in your head. That is the first uncomfortable truth. When you replay a conversation or invent one, your nervous system reacts as if it is happening in real time. Evolutionarily, social rejection meant exile, and exile meant death. So your body still treats its conflict like survival territory. Even if you are lying in a safe bed, your physiology is fighting a war. This is why you can't just stop thinking about it. You are stuck in an open loop. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik Effect. The tendency to remember incomplete situations more intensely than completed ones. If you didn't say what you wanted to say, if you swallowed your anger to keep the peace, your brain marks the event as unfinished. Unfinished means unsafe, so it replays and rewrites and rehearses. But if you grew up in an environment where emotional expression wasn't safe, where conflict led to withdrawal, criticism, or unpredictability, your nervous system learned a critical lesson: prepare in advance. The preparation becomes hypervigilance. Hypervigilance isn't paranoia, it is a survival adaptation. It is your nervous system staying slightly outside its window of tolerance. That optimal zone where you can think clearly and regulate emotions. When you are outside that window, your brain becomes predictive. It scans for future. Pain rehearsing conversations is a form of coping. It is your mind trying to pre-regulate an anticipated emotional impact. The behavior looks like overanalysis, but it is actually preemptive, emotional armor. And here's the layer most people miss. If you carry attachment wounds, fear of abandonment, fear of being too much, your brain will simulate conversations to test your belonging. You rehearse saying the honest thing, and then you rehearse the person leaving. You rehearse setting a boundary, and then you rehearse them withdrawing love. Your mind is running attachment simulations because somewhere in your history, being yourself cost you connection. Pause for a second. Did your chest tighten just now? That is not weakness. That is stored relational memory. But not everyone rehearses for the same reason. There are specific psychological archetypes behind this behavior. Listen carefully. You will recognize yourself in one of these. First, the hypervigilant survivor. This type doesn't rehearse for ego. They rehearse for safety. If this is you, your nervous system is rarely relaxed in relationships. You scan for tone shifts. You don't just hear words, you hear potential threats. This usually begins in environments where emotional reactions were unpredictable. Maybe a parent exploded without warning. Maybe affection was conditional, so your system adapted. It learned to stay prepared. You imagine worst case scenarios not because you are dramatic, but because unpredictability once hurt you. your brain is trying to prevent shock. Second, the unheard child. This archetype rehearses conversations they never got to have. Your internal monologues are often emotional speeches. You imagine finally saying, "I felt alone," or "that hurt me." This pattern is rooted in emotional invalidation. Maybe you were the good kid, the low-maintenance one. You learned that expressing discomfort created tension, so you internalized it. But suppression doesn't erase emotion. It stores it, and stored emotion seeks a voice. Your rehearsals are not about conflict. They are about a desperate need for validation. Third, the conflict avoidant strategist. This type doesn't fantasize about speeches. They strategize outcomes. You plan your wording carefully. You calculate reactions. You don't fear emotion itself. You fear escalation. Somewhere in your history, conflict became chaos. Arguments spiraled. Love was withdrawn. So your nervous system equates confrontation with rupture. Rehearsing becomes risk management. You edit yourself before speaking to maintain the bond. But the cost is that you rarely experience the freedom of unfiltered authenticity. Fourth, the attachment forecaster. This archetype lives in relational prediction. Your rehearsals are almost always about potential rejection. Will they leave if I say this? Will I be too much? Your brain runs these simulations because early bonds taught you that. Connection is fragile. This isn't clinginess. It is fear of loss encoded into your biology. You are trying to soften future abandonment by mentally experiencing it. First and finally, the control illusionist. This is the most misunderstood type. Rehearsing conversations gives you a sense of agency. In real life, people are unpredictable, but in your mind, you can script the exchange. You can win. You can explain perfectly. This often develops in environments where you felt helpless. The illusion of control regulates your anxiety. It soothes temporarily, but it doesn't create safety outside of your head. Now, take a breath. Which one felt like I was reading your private thoughts? Comment below. Naming the pattern is the first step to breaking the loop. Here is the shift. The majority of people stop at awareness. They say, "Okay, I overthink," and they treat it like a personality flaw. But you are not rehearsing because you are flawed. You are rehearsing because somewhere, it's in your story. Emotional impact caught you off guard, and your nervous system said, "Never again." But here's the twist regarding self-sabotage. The more you rehearse instead of express, the more you reinforce the belief that your spontaneous self is unsafe. Every time you say nothing in real life, but say everything in your head, your nervous system learns that expression equals danger. Silence becomes your armor, but armor also blocks intimacy. You don't feel too much. You've just learned that depth comes with risk. So how do we break this? You don't fight your nervous system. You work with it. Next time you catch yourself rehearsing, don't shame it. Pause and ask two questions. First, what is my body trying to protect me from right now? And second, what would it look like to express just 10% of this in real life? Not the whole speech, just 10%. That is how you widen your window of tolerance. Safety is not built in the rehearsal. Safety is built in the real-time experience of speaking, trembling, and surviving the amygdala. The amygdala calms not because you wrote the perfect script, but because you spoke and the world didn't collapse. That is regulation. That is growth. You are not strange. You are complex. And complexity is not. It's pathology. It's depth. If this reflection helped you see your own mind with less judgment, share it with someone who lives inside their head and hit subscribe. The Psychology Unseen is not just a channel. It's a mentality. The hypervigilant survivor.